everyone, my name is Liz. I'm a maker. I love to knit, crochet, sew, quilt, cross stitch, felt, spin, draw, and whatever else I decide to do and get into. Today is January 11th. We actually have snow. We've had snow, but it just snows and melts and goes away. This snow is actually staying like real winter. I'm not into real winter, but I know it'll be over when spring comes and we'll get summer and spring. I don't mind fall, I just don't like that it represents winter coming. Please like and subscribe or comment. Just let me know you're here. I like to think I'm not talking to myself. It says I get views, but I'm also on Instagram as Liz's Fiber Crafting Nook, just like I am here on YouTube. Let's talk about finished objects. I'm gonna lean down. This is, all right, I'm gonna preface this with, I love pottery. Aesthetically, I like pottery. I like to do pottery myself, but due to lack of money, access, I can't do pottery. Get the clay, use the kilns, glaze, all that stuff. That's not something I'm able to do. Would I like to own a kiln someday? Yes. Maybe that could happen before I die. But here we are. I can't afford to buy the pottery I would like. That leads us into what pottery? A yarn bowl. I like there's some stunning yarn bowls out there. And I really would like to have one, but that is not in my budget. That would be a big splurge. And I need that money to do things like fix my bathroom, maintenance my car, things like that. Maybe someday. However, I found a solution for now. Paper mache. This isn't the paper mache you think of when you think of your little kids going to kindergarten paper mache. You can do some very intricate work. This was made with paper mache clay. Let me just show you. I would like to let you know too, I've painted this. I don't mind the paint job, but it's not my fave. I just used the paints I had. I almost would have preferred if I would have just left it plain and just sealed it and left it plain. Here we are though. I'd have to repaint it white or off-white or something. Octopus. Here it is from this angle. This is a log. This is where I keep my hooks, needles, hooks, sewing tapestry stuff. And here's the back of him. It's obviously sea life themed with an octopus. Really enjoyed making this project. And this is my yarn bowl. You can make yours any way you want. Now I'm going to talk to you about if you would like to make one. Here is my notes journal. I would say 80% of the time I put my things in here now. Notes, pictures, drawing, swatches of the fibers, projects, things like that. This guy has his own project page. Here it is. Here it is white. Let me see if I can get you. Yeah, you can sort of see him. All right. Here's how I did it. I'm sorry, my nose itches, so. Terribly sorry. All right. If you want to do this, you need to get yourself a bowl, your cupboard, wherever, the size and the shape that you want. There are varying sizes and shapes. You're going to turn it over onto its bottom because you're going to be using the bottom of the bowl. So make sure the bottom of the bowl has the shape you desire, because if the inside's great and the outside's not, you're not molding it to the inside of the bowl, you're molding it to the outside of the bowl. You saran wrap the outside of the bowl, and you use paper towels and glue, some watered down Elmer's glue, not the water soluble ones. People mistakenly do that. You need regular Elmer's glue. You could also use wood glue, but you should note a lot of wood glues are going to dry yellow, like not a beautiful yellow either, just a yellow. You're going to put the paper towels on, wet it down with the glue, let it dry. I'm a cheater and I use a hair dryer to make this process much faster. I prefer the blue shop towels. They're thicker and a little stretchier so that you can form it a little bit better. Any paper towel will work though. That was just my preference. They cost a little more than the regular paper towels. So if you want to save a few pennies, then go with the regulars. Thought gather. The paper mache clay is made of 2 cups of shredded paper that's soaked in water. You take the shredded paper. You can use newspaper. I avoid it. It smells and can give me a headache. And it has like the ink and stuff will float through the surface like a weird texturally ew. But whatever paper you shred and use, you are going to soak it until it's it's basically starting to become pulp. So the longer you soak it, great. Then you're going to empty your water and squeeze out as much of that water as you can from your shredded paper. Then you're going to add 2 cups of the paper, 1 cup of sheetrock mud, sheetrock compound. It's spackle that you use to repair sheetrock. You can get this at a hardware store. 3/4 cups of Elmer glue, not water soluble. You could also, like I said, use the wood glue. 3/4 cup cornstarch. You can use flour if you would like. I like cornstarch because it creates a much smoother clay. If you want to play around with it, make a batch with flour and make a batch with cornstarch. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is not like working with pottery. It has some, but because you're dealing with glue, you're looking at there's some stickiness involved. And then I mix it using a mixer. I use my KitchenAid. Note to you, I have a separate bowl and a separate paddle that I keep on hand that I use for crafting that is not food related. I just want you to know that I'm not using non-food related products in my food mixing bowl. I have two separate things. Just the equipment I'm using. If you don't smooth out your paper mache clay well, it'll be like working with tuna fish mixed in mayonnaise. That's what I think the texture is like. If you cream it really well together with a mixer, it gets it really smooth and you don't have that missed pieces, and it's much nicer. If you want it to be super smooth, this is not cost effective, by the way. You can use wetted toilet paper as your wet paper. It works great. In fact, I think it's fabulous. However, toilet paper is not cheap. I don't think toilet paper is cheap. But if you think it is, then you go for that. Experiment, figure out what you like. All right. That gives you an idea if you're like me and you just can't afford the things you want. Make the thing you want. It might not be exactly like it, but that made me happy and it kept me busy for a long time making it. I can't tell you how long it took me to make it. I don't ever keep track of time because I don't sit down and just start to finish. I work on it here, there, yonder when I have time. All right. Moving on from that, now works in progress. If you can see the chaos that is going on here at my desk, that describes my week. It's not a bad chaos. It's just that I knew I wasn't going to finish a single one of my whips from last week, this week. I was too all over the place. Oh, I thought of this, and ooh, I thought of that, and oh, I'm going to go do this, and oh, over here, and it just, the chaos. It is exactly like I just described. All right, let's talk about the whips. Archer socks. Let's talk socks. Here's where I am now. I hadn't even started them when I talked to you last week. Here's where they are now. Oh, that looks pretty good. Here they are. I had to pull these out 2 times. Not all the way to the beginning. I probably pulled them out to right about here. Here and here. Like 2 different times. Here's why. I'm doing his on size 2. Size 2 needles. And I did him 72 stitches. He has a size 11 foot. However, he has a narrow foot. His are real slim and long. He has skinny feet. And I followed my directions from my notes from the last socks I made him. And those socks just fit him. So I'm realizing they don't have enough negative ease, but he likes them and they fit his feet. They just fit his feet. They're like on his feet. But there should be, for a sock, more negative ease so they don't end up with any wrinkling and stuff. His don't, but they're on the, I feel like they're on the cusp of that now that I'm looking at them. I am trying to perfect Archer socks. I pulled back until I had him back down to the 68 stitches instead of 72. I knit back up to where I was again, tried him on his feet, and I still felt they just still were like you could pinch off, and there's just a little too much fabric. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm a 64 stitch sock, and how's he a 64 inch sock? He's still got bigger feet than me. However, they're pretty slim feet. Here's the difference. I use a 1.5 size needle on my sock, and I'm using size 2 on his sock. So that changes the size of the fabric. So his socks are still bigger, but I pulled back and I went back to 64 stitches, and now we're working 64 stitches. I am essentially on size 2 needles going to probably make his socks the same as mine, the same recipe pattern. I have a recipe I follow that's my sock, or you can say a pattern I follow that's my socks. And I think that Archer's is going to follow that same guide, only with size 2 needles. I'll try them on his foot as I go to make sure that they are fitting him and he doesn't need extra stitches in certain places of his foot. I've talked to you before. Here's the socks that I can example on. Okay. I like to add, when I'm doing the heel, at the end of the heel, I like to add 5 extra stitches on that heel part, which gives me more space between here and the top of my foot here. If I don't, I always feel like the sock is cutting into the top of my foot right here. And no one wants that. And then I decrease back down until I'm back to the 64 stitch for the cuff. I'm going to try this on Archer's. I'll just see where he needs extra space and doesn't need extra space. Essentially, I'm remaking his recipe because apparently I was a little off on the first ones, but they work. And just because something works doesn't mean they can't be improved. Will I finish those by next week? If the chaos I am feeling with the working on different things continues, no, but if I can get up to the heel, great. If not, I'm not going to beat myself up. Socks can always take me 2 to 3 weeks to complete. And since I started those on, I think I started on Saturday. I have to go check my Instagram. I posted when I started the socks on my Instagram. That's how I keep track of things. You just make sure you take a picture and note it, and then you can go back and look later. If you don't have time to take notes, at least take pictures so you have some idea of what's happening. I'm still working on my crochet blanket. I completed maybe 4 rows on it for the whole week. It's still progress. I'm just not allowed to not make any progress. So even if it's 1 row, it's still progress. I did work on the Turkish spindle. I did not complete my first I divided the fiber out in 3s of 20.5 grams each bit. And I have this little bit of the first 20.5 grams to finish. Almost there. And here's what it looks like right now. My gosh, guys, I really like the Turkish spindle. That's really, it's fun, it's relaxing. You guys, if you need a stress ball that actually makes something, go for it. That's what I'll call it, stress balls that make something. Next, Felted Forest Friend. Talked to you last week about needing to rip his horrible pipe cleaner arms off and do a real frame. Didn't know how long it was going to need the legs, so left myself plenty of wire to do this with. I've got 1 arm. This is, by the way, remade. Here's the horrible pipe cleaner arm. Bye-bye. Still forming and shaping. I still have shaping to do. But this was all, I did this yesterday. I did this yesterday. Yes. And then after I get this arm formed and I'm happy with it, I will move on to the other arm. I got his, I call it his wire spine, is all in. You can't even see where I put it in. I have it all felted in. I'm starting shoulder blades back here. It is too white for you to see. The lighting is way too bright. Good progress. Happy with the progress. Putting him on the desk where it adds to my chaos. Next is, and last work in progress, is the sewing monster. I'm going to preface you with, don't get excited about my progress, because my progress may not be progress at all. If it ends up not turning out, I will scrap the project. I am trying to keep track of, I'm right now using scrap materials. So I'm not using up all of my material that I want to use for the project and ruining it. I have some scrap canvas I'm using. Right now, these are the paper pieces I have cut out for the pieces I have sewn on this face. If each piece ends up working out, then I have the pattern to do it on the new material. I'm going to show you the only part of him that I have done that this thing is, these are the true eyes. Here's going to be his eyes. The real eyes. All right. I'm going to also tell you that my husband said, this looks like I skinned an elephant / person and it looks terribly weird. When you are sewing and you are making the outside of a toy, it's not stuffed. It don't look right and never will till you stuff it and give it 3D, and also there's missing portions of the face. I've only done the nose, the eyes, and the side panels. And the side panels, just before I show it to you, have excess fabric because I didn't know how much I was going to need, so eventually that'll be trimmed off. And I'll note that in my paper piece. I'll make that paper piece proper. Ready for the weirdo with the non-stuffed nose? It also won't be like this. It'll probably be more like, I don't even know if I can do it. I can't do it. This will be in the side angle. Missing a lot of this fabric. He needs a centerpiece to his head. This is the lip above the space between your lip and your nose. So he doesn't even have lips yet, or a mouth, or a chin, but he has a face. I am going to be sew shaping him. I don't know if that's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. Once he's stuffed, I'm going to take a sewing needle and sewing thread, and I'm going to be pinching things into place and sewing the wrinkles in, and the chin dimple feature. Maybe we have an indentation here at the above our lip. We have our nostrils. I kind of did an experiment. Here is his sewn in nostril. He only has it on one side. Once the nose is stuffed, it'll look much better. We'll see how this goes. This is what I have so far. This is gonna gets worked on when I have an idea. I have tons of ideas floating around my head about nose shapes, ears, antennas, spikes, long ears, short ears, where to put them on the head. I do not know what I'm going to do with this guy. So if I get stuck, he might end up just languishing for a month until an idea pops to me and I decide, okay, that's what I'm going to try doing. All right, that's it on him. I can't really tell you much more except for my ideas don't always end up working out, but I won't know until I try it. There we go. My plans for the coming week are working on these projects and trying not to start another one. I debated on starting the lace covers for the Christmas bulbs. I feel like that might be too much chaos in my life right now. I want to, and I keep looking at them. I just don't think that I can squeeze it into my mental place. I have one felting, one crochet, one knit, one sewing, and I'm painting the stairwell hallway. So things not this. I'm painting the stairwell hallway, and I have to do it when Archer's not home because I can tell him don't touch the wall. It's wet, and he will touch the wall and get it everywhere. The stairwells, it's an old farmhouse. The stairwell is pretty narrow. Basically, my whole back and everything's touching this wall while I'm trying to paint this wall. I think it's unrealistic expectations to expect him to not touch the wall when he's 6 foot. He's 6 foot tall. He just fits up and down the stairs. That means that I can't do it until Monday. I won't be able to do it till Monday because I start work today, and that means I'm at work while he's gone. Or he's gone right now and I'm recording for you, and then I'm going to get ready and go to work. It's what it is. So next Monday, this coming Monday. Okay, I'm going to leave you with podcasters I watch. Tanis Fiber Arts, Chem Knits Tutorials, lots of dyeing in that one. She does knit a little bit, or knits with some of the stuff she dyes, but I enjoy watching her dye yarn and make colors, and she does sell some of those skeins on her Etsy. That means if you watch her and you like what she's doing, those skeins might pop up on Etsy and you can buy her unique one-of-a-kind. She dyed it on this video. And then Stephen West. If you're a knitter, you've probably heard of Stephen West, even if you don't make his pattern. I have never made a Stephen West pattern ever. He is a bit too bright and colorful for me. I know that I can do his patterns in more toned down ways. I've just never done it. But I like to look at his stuff. And I think the socks that he's been coming out with are pretty cool, and I might eventually end up doing something like that. Maybe. I have a ton of knitting patterns that I've never done. Sock patterns and stuff. And I'm not a shawl wearer. I just don't wear them. I don't use them. So if I were to make them, they'd sit around and collect dust. I like this poncho. It doesn't fall off of me. It stays where it put. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to have a ton of those either. My one here is good. All right, you guys have a great week. And if you are in snowy areas, please drive safe. It gets slick out there. And stay warm. And I will see you next week.